Good morning and happy Friday, March 12th. Thank you for joining us for another Faculty Spotlight. You are indeed in for a treat. Today we have one of our professors that I know and have known for a very long time. We had a chance to have a chat before we got started this morning, and we were reminiscing how we used to travel. We would fly together and stay in hotels for conferences and workshops. We would even drive from here to North Carolina for different types of training to help sharpen our skills. And we were just reminiscing the good old days, and we really do miss that. So, but without any further ado, I'd like to welcome you all today for joining us for the Faculty Spotlight. And we have an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with one of our long-standing professors who is here at Virginia Union University, uh, Professor Antoinette James Lloyd. You've had a chance to read a little bit about her, but she's been in education for over 30 years. She could write several books. We've already talked about that. She has just a myriad of teaching experience in higher education. She not only taught at Virginia Union, but at one time, and in part of her grooming, she also taught at East Carolina University. And she has a BS and MBA degree in the business industry, which really helped to round her out to provide excellence to all the teaching that she provides. She's indicated that she has been a mentor and advisor and a teacher, left that one out, to over 5,000 students. Can you imagine all the lives that she has touched? And that's the ones that she can count. There are many more that she just doesn't know that she touched them. She does have a motto, and I like that for guiding during her teaching career has been teaching is to touch a life, not just at that moment, but forever. It should ever be changed by the opportunity to just touch them with her teaching and bringing that type of understanding to them. She is currently the assistant professor in the Sydney School of Business, and she's the chair also of the Management and Marketing Department. Some of her other work experiences that she brings to this to round everything off, she has banking industry experience and also as a management consultant. So good morning again and welcome, Professor Lloyd. Thank you so much for agreeing to be with us today, to have this conversation and have our audience to be a part of hearing all the wonderful things she's going to share with us. It is a fast, very quick 30 minutes. So let's get right to it.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your teaching experience, about your academic training, and your specificity, what you're expert in.
Well, you mentioned North Carolina as you introduced me. So I am from North Carolina, Elizabeth City, which is on the northeastern part of the state. And I graduated from an HBCU, North Carolina Central University, and I obtained my MBA from East Carolina University. And at that time, I had an advisor who really supported me during that time when I achieved my MBA, because back in the early 70s, there weren't too many of us in those MBA programs. And his name was Dr. Broom. And I remember all of those professors that supported me. I was the only Black woman in the program, and I graduated the program and I stayed on and, and taught there for 4 years. Now, if we think about teaching experience, my teaching experience there at Virginia Union, oh, when I got the news that they wanted me to come on board at VUU, I was so excited. And I told my husband, I said, I got the job. I'm going to work at Virginia Union University. And my years there, or years here have been very fulfilling. And at that time, we focused at Union on teaching. And of course, you've heard my motto as far as the students. And I think they appreciate my being sincere and genuine. It comes across when I talk with them that I am concerned about their progress there at Virginia Union, not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom too. I have on occasion told some of my freshmen, look, I know you're away from home. You don't have mom and dad there, and you're free. I said, down, go to the edge if you must, but don't jump off. And so I had one young man to come into my office. I said, I haven't seen you lately. And he said, well, Miss Lloyd, and he told me the story of what he did and whatever. And I said, didn't I tell you not to jump off the edge? He said, yes, you told me, but I didn't listen. So I think for me, teaching involves getting to know my students and helping them to feel comfortable about talking with me. And then it also helps me to see where I can help uh, guide guide them. And so, as I said before, it has really been wonderful to touch young people, and they help keep you young too. Um, they help keep me abreast of what's going on. And it also helps my having three children too, who say, well, mom, no, that's so and so. I said, well, who is that? And so then I can go into the classroom and I'll say something, and they're like, oh, Miss Lord, you know that? I said, yeah, sure. I keep abreast of that and so on. But I will say that my interest, as far as subject matter in business, has been marketing, because marketing is people oriented, and I like the uh, sociology aspect of marketing, because you have to know about people and groups and getting to understand them. And then it's also creative, and that's what I try to get across to my students, that although sometimes you have to be very organized and get information in order to reach your audience, your target audience, and so on, that it can be fun. So that is why when I was in grad school, I selected marketing as my focus area. And that's where I am now as far as in the School of Business. I've taught different courses, uh, one which would be Principles of Marketing, and I've had several graduate students to come back and say, well, Miss Lloyd, I got my MBA and I remember you teaching me that marketing class, and so on. So keeping in touch with those students is really a pleasure. So that's just a little bit. Oh, and as a sidebar, sometimes people really don't know, they look at me as far as business, but I like to write poetry.
Okay.
I have my different poems and so on. And I also play the piano. I wish I could practice a little bit more. I'm going to try, but that's just a little sidebar there as far as who I am, and so on.
Well, you know my response to that. Of course, we don't believe any of that unless we hear a piece of your work. But we'll save that for another time. Make
I
sure you
will
send me
share.
something, because I'll spread the news. Because that's wonderful. I love poetry. I think there's a certain mentality that goes with that. So I'll be interested in hearing how your poetry flows and comes out. And I might have some questions about that. So I'm gonna pause on that one. But thank you for sharing that personal note about you.
Sure.
Who knew? How you're a Renaissance woman.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. And thank you for sharing all of that. What what were the motivators? What attracted you to join um, the faculty at Virginia Union University? And What are you currently teaching?
Okay. Uh, Virginia, when my family and I moved here to uh, Richmond, we moved from Virginia Beach. Some of my husband's friends that he worked with were talking about Virginia Union and how their parents had attended Virginia Union and the uh, historical significance of Virginia Union. So I had been in a majority school environment, and so I wanted to teach in the other aspect to feel like I was giving back more. And so that's what really attracted me to Virginia Union. And as I said before, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh, I'm going to be at Virginia Union. And of course, being a part of the faculty and also the camaraderie that we have there. And at that time, going to the basketball games and the football games, the students would see me there and say, Miss Lloyd, I saw you at the football game or at the basketball game, and so on. So it was really fulfilling for me to be a part of that experience too, in addition to the experience in the classroom. And I just have a lot of memories about my early times there, because I remember when Virginia Union had a daycare center there on campus. And my youngest daughter, I would drive to work and take her to the daycare center. And then in the afternoon, after my evening class, pick her up from the daycare center. And she made friends there, and I did too with the parents. And some of them I still am friends with now, just from my experience there. So it was like, oh, this historical, university, and I'm going to be teaching there. So that was the attraction, and it still is. As far as Virginia Union is still first in my heart, although I graduated from North Carolina Central at HBCU, but uh, I'm a Unionite at heart. And of course, as I mentioned before, in the School of Business, I've taught the marketing classes, but also freshmen, where we introduced them to the area of business. And, freshmen are fun. They really are, especially if you reach out to them and, you know, make them feel comfortable. They can be a joy. And then I can see them progress as they move through freshmen, sophomores, and then sometimes to see them as a senior. I'll say, you remember when? And they say, yes, Miss Lord. And I said, I can see the change in you and how you have matured and so on. And it really is nice to see them after they get their jobs and they come back and they're married and have their children and so on. So it's wonderful.
Well, we're like halfway into the faculty spotlight. I just want to remind our audience that if you have any questions, that you can put them in the Q&A, and also you can put comments in the chat area, and I will look at those as we get closer to the end. But just wanted to share that with you. Professor Lloyd, through all the experiences that you've had, and this is over 30 years of experience in teaching, is there anything or things that just come to mind for you that stands out? Like those moments that just stay with you. They're the stories you tell often, or you think about, and you laugh about them. It brings a smile to your face, or something that really just stands out from your teaching experience.
Well, I think from my teaching experience, I think about some of the projects that I've had in my classes. And I recall one project, and this was in my promotional strategy class, where the students actually had a budget and we worked with an outside educational company. They provided a budget for the students. We had an actual client, and the students controlled the course. In other words, we had different groups. Also had, a chairperson. Well, I would say a chairperson, but the, lead student. And what they had to do was create a promotional plan, implement, and then evaluate at the end and do a presentation. They did several presentations for their client because prior to implementing the promotional plan, they had to present to the client to tell them what they were going to do and what they wanted to achieve. So this particular project was during the spring. And I recall the students being out on the square. They had the music going, and they had the uh, popcorn machine, and they had the mic. They had to do it all there. I was just there monitoring, and what they had to do was get information out about this particular client on campus because they wanted to increase diversity in their organization. And that was a lot of fun, especially during the spring of the year. And then and this just happened, but there was a tour bus. You know how high schoolers do the campus tour during the spring, and the tour bus was there, and it was just so vibrant and full of fun, and I know we made a big impression on them as far as the experience there at VUU, the college experience. And then I recall, and this is more recent, maybe 2 years ago, I had a small group of students and they helped create the slogan for our QEP. And they were really proud of that too. I was proud of them too. But what I find is that if you create an environment where they feel that they can, uh, have their ideas and then see them materialize, it is a wonderful experience, not only for me, but for them too. So I would say that I think my students feel that with me, I try to be real and sincere with them. And they say, well, no, come on, let's move on. Let's do this. What do you think? What do you think? And try to pull it out of them. And then once I do that, they are very proud of themselves. They were like, we actually did it. I said, yes. And I knew that you could all along, but you just needed a little help. So those experiences, and then there are just so many that I can think of that have occurred there at Virginia Union. Like when they have a homecoming and the coronation of the Queen and so on. So, as I said before, those experiences stand out with our students, but also the classroom experience too.
So there's over 5,000 students that you said you touched, and I believe you probably touched even more. And you were saying just those that you advised and mentored, but there's probably more students that you didn't get a chance to count. Do you know the names of all those students? Just, and I'm sure you, and knowing you, I'm sure you have a list of all those students and what they're doing now. And those students, was that a capstone kind of assignment for them? Did they receive grades, or how were
Oh,
you
yes.
measuring them?
That was capstone. Now,
Oh, yes.
speaking of students, I've had some of my advisees bring their friends from another department to talk to me. They said, well, I want you to talk to my advisor. And they would bring them in and I'd ask them some questions. And I said, now you go back and whatever. And, that was really a pleasure. Now, speaking of touching over 5,000 students, some of those students, you know, I have had them contact me and they didn't graduate. So for example, maybe about a month ago, I got a phone call and I saw this name. I didn't know who it was, but it was from a student who had attended Virginia Union for, I think, a year. But there's a backstory to it. My husband and I were in New York at the time, and we were at this restaurant. And there was a graduation party. And so we were sitting there, we were, sitting at the bar and we were eating and whatever. And they announced that he was going to attend Virginia Union. Now, you know what I did. I said, at Virginia Union.
Couldn't resist.
And introduced myself to his parents and to him. And so when they brought him down, of course, I was there on campus to make sure everything was okay. And he had my phone number and so on. But the thing is that although he didn't finish Virginia Union, he went back home. I forgot, maybe some family problems or whatever. But he stays in touch. And that's been over, oh gosh, I know over 10 years ago. And it was just, it was wonderful to hear from him a couple of months ago because it had been a while since I've talked to him. But, that goes to show you that the impression that you make on students, regardless of whether they matriculate at Virginia Union, that it goes on, and then they tell others. So it has that ripple effect. It's wonderful.
Were you saying something else?
No, I thought you were. But I was.
So, let me, I have one more pressing question, and then I'm going to take some from the chat and see whatever questions have come up after listening to your experiences. For all the students that are out there, for Virginia Union students who may be on this Zoom today, or others who can hear it and share it with others, what advice do you have for those who are considering major or minor or degrees in business or marketing or anything that is in that industry? What advice do you have for them?
I would tell them to not limit your vision, because there are a lot of different avenues available to a student if they major in business. And I know that the program in the Sidney Lewis School of Business will help develop, that student for whatever objective they would have. So and my advice would be to think big, but also look at what your skill, and I'll say superpower, is, and then connect it. And if you do that, then there's no telling what you can do, whether it's large or small, because you don't have to be, I would say, the president of this, but for me, in my own little space, I can be the best that I can be. And then if it takes me to that next level, that's good. But, as long as I'm giving my best, and I think that's what they need to do. And I will say this, as far as, that business degree, that it can be used in a number of ways, because let's say you're in political science. You could still have a minor in business because it will help you develop those organizational skills, and then an understanding of whatever, we'll say, nonprofit organization or government organization that you're going to, or that you may work in, and so on. So a business degree can support whatever major you may select there. And
So what about the similar, but a career in business? Let's say that like the young person who started out pursuing a degree, but got curtailed, but still maybe very thirsty for being in the business industry. What advice would you give for careers in business?
okay, for careers in business, I would say that, there are different areas now that are really, I would say, hot as far as careers. And so, as an example, of course, healthcare, but then it could still be supported by that management degree or business degree, technology, uh, business analytics, and that could, a math major could support that they like the math, and then maybe look at analytics, and because that particular field is hot, right? Really hot too. So as far as careers, the sky's the limit, but you just have to envision it. You have to open your mind, and see the possibilities. And if you do that, then you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And for me, where God will take you, because he'll support, whatever it is that you want to do.
So I thank you so much, Professor Lloyd, for today. I do have a question and then two comments to share with you. This question actually comes from the Dean of the Sydney School of Business, Dr. Robin Davis. And she says, she's asking, what do you think the School of Business can accomplish in the future? No pressure.
All right.
I added that last part.
Accomplish in the future. The way I see the School of Business, I see it as poetry in motion. And the School of Business, with poetry, you can add different stanzas and changes and so on. And I see the School of Business as continually spiraling up and developing. And there's no telling where we're going to be, but it will always be at the top. And that's how I see the School of Business. Right.
I love the creativity in that whole piece there, looking at it from that angle. That's a different lens. And that's a good one too. So cast some verbiage down for poetry around the future of the Sydney School of Business. Let's read that in poetry. So put some stanzas down. So I would also like to share with you, Professor Ragland has said that it is a delight to work with you. You have a spirit of joy. And our very own Copel said the golf team says hi. So you know who that group is.
Yeah,
so, and we're going to basically end it there. I thank you so much again, Professor Lloyd, for taking time to have this conversation with me on Friday. The Faculty Spotlight is a pleasure. I look forward to hearing from some of your poetry in the future. And also you should start crafting that into a journal, something, a book. And I'm going to challenge you to do that. For our audience, thank you also for being with us today for the Faculty Spotlight. Up next Friday, our very own Dr. Ingrid Burkham-Barkey is going to be here to have a conversation with me about what she's doing at BUU. So please stay tuned and join us for that next week To all of you, stay safe and have a wonderful Friday and weekend. Thank you. Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor. Mwah. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.